Hi, my name is Greg Keene. I want to welcome you to Toasted Soul. Toasted Soul is a podcast hosted by me, Greg Keene. Toasted Soul will be exploring technology news, business news, and just general rants on life. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toasted Soul. Hope your day's going great like mine is. Today I have with me the amazing and wonderful Kemba Byam, known her for years, and she's just a wonderful person. Kemba, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so first of all, I like to have fun. I like to laugh. I'm currently the Director of Organizational Wellness with Global Leadership Village. A couple of us started that organization in November 2018. I am a sacred leader. I do peer counseling support for folks. I do workshops, and I have not only a degree from York University in Law and Society and Sociology, but I also have a certificate in Community Healing and Peacebuilding. And I'm really passionate about helping people in the ways that I can.
Those are great titles. It's been so long since I've seen you. Peace building, can you explain to us? Because I've never heard that term before. Can you explain to us what peace building is?
Yeah. And probably folks, I mean, there's organizations who focus on peace. Peace is, there's different ways of looking at peace. It's sometimes looked at as free from something. But when I think about peace, I mean, I think about moving towards calmness and equilibrium and equity and harmony. And most importantly, for me, peace is equal to freedom. And I just want to share at this point, I would be remiss if I didn't say I want to acknowledge and thank my teachers and elders, Reverend Ainia Ayodele, Dr. Ibun Adelona, Dr. Ann Goodman, who has since passed, who I started my certificate with, and Dr. Bonnie Burstow, who is a strong force in the anti-psychiatry movement. She actually passed away earlier this year. So I just wanted to say that as I stumbled over my words.
It's all right, you got it out.
Yeah.
So what is anti-psychiatry? I haven't heard that term either.
Yeah, anti-psychiatry is a movement that looks at how ways in which the psychiatry profession is problematic for a lot of folks, how institutionalizing of people is problematic, and how we can look for different choices on how we not just look at mental health, but how we support people with mental health that's not normalized in our society.
Yeah, yesterday I had a guest and we talked pretty in depth about because of COVID and everything like that. And what I was saying was like at the beginning of COVID, they talked a lot about how the rate of divorce was higher, and they speculated that the rate of suicides would also be higher. I was explaining to her that I have friends that are struggling right now because the COVID and they're locked in. They want to get back to the office, whereas I thought you're at home. Like this is the perfect. You get to work at home and make money and not have to worry about it. But I love that situation. But I'm realizing now a lot of people do like that. They want to be at work. They want to go to the office.
Yeah.
With that, there's a lot of suicides and no one's talking about it because whatever, they're stuck at home. They can't do anything to worry about COVID and the fear and everything around surrounding it. So yeah, do you have anything to speak on about something like that?
Well, I think, people's mental health has declined since the pandemic and sheltering in place. But on top of that, many of us, especially for those of us who identify as Black, witnessing state-sanctioned violence through different social medias can definitely affect our mental wellness. Some people don't know how they're going to feed themselves or pay their rent. That's putting an added stress on them. And a lot of people are supporting other people and they're feeling like they have to put on a face and or literally support other people. And the emotional wherewithal of that can be a lot, can be daunting, especially for folks who may have shame to talk about how they're feeling.
Yeah.
One of the things I've done is, regardless of race, I've had people reach out to me and ask me how I am. And in that moment, I've been very, very honest with people, because one of the things for me as someone who has been person who has been a healer in the community is that people have relied on me for things. And it's an opportunity for me to open up so people can see that I'm three-dimensional, that I go through the same struggles that they through as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel blessed, right? Like you're talking about people who want to go back to the office. There are people who feel like their home is their sanctuary. There needs to be a division between what they do outside of the house and their home. And I
Yeah.
think for you, like you're very passionate about your work.
Mhm.
Some people have to go out into the world and do that work because it's not a part of them. They're just doing it to pay the bills. And I think that's sometimes where the disconnect is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, yeah, like I said, it's hard for me to understand, but I'm understanding now. Like I
Yeah.
see, I was like, oh, okay, this is like a learning opportunity for me, and I'm learning about it. And
Yeah.
because before I'm like, everybody would love to work at home, right? Just
Yeah.
this naive thing. It's like, yeah, you just get up, you start working,
Yeah.
then you stop working, you go to the gym or whatever the case is, and you have so much freedom. But no,
Yeah.
people, they want that structure has been so a big part of them for so long that they need it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some people who don't have that choice. They have to go out to work, right? So
Yeah.
we want to think about them too.
Right. So with all this stuff, how are you keeping up? Like it's crazy. Like this is a completely unprecedented time.
Yeah, I mean, I started doing a lot of self-care things in the beginning. So, the organization that I'm a part of, we held a 40-day process each morning at 7 a.m., a sacred online circle that was led by Reverend Inania that really built an online community around spirituality and practice. So that helped. I started a gratitude process. I did that for 40 days as well. I started creating a list of things that I developed or started during this time. And, I have a backyard. I'm blessed to have a backyard. So every day now, this is a new practice. I go outside for a minimum of 15 minutes, and it's
Mhm.
hard. No technology, not doing anything, just sit outside, listen to the birds, watch the rabbits, the squirrels, which I'm not a fan of squirrels, but I'm learning compassion for
Right.
my neighbors have children, listening to them play, like just doing that has really been a strong part of my practice. And also when I don't feel well, like sitting in that, not trying to, okay, I don't feel well, let me clean something or let me call someone, like just sitting and grounding myself in the
Kind of like a
discomfort of it.
mindfulness practice.
Yeah, I guess kind of like a mindfulness. And, that mindfulness practice is something I wouldn't necessarily use that name for because I'm not well versed in the topic. But
Mhm.
yeah, but really being present in whatever's
Right.
happening and not running away from it.
Just taking it all in.
Yeah, and feeling it.
Right.
I
In
think,
the moment.
yeah, for a lot of my life, there's ways in which I numbed through things so I could get things done and help other people. And this is not the time. Turning 40 was a blessing because I was
Yeah.
like, nope, not doing that shit anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to swear.
No, you're totally allowed to swear.
Okay.
Like it's in the dictionary, so use it.
Yeah.
Maybe around 40, I was just like, like fuck it. Like it's about me. I care about people, but I have to think about myself
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
But
okay.
what's great about hitting 40 is before 40 is people, especially Black women who are older than I was like letting me know. They're like, oh, once you hit 40, things are gonna shift. And I was like, okay, like just receiving. But then it happened, I was like, oh yes.
This is what you mean.
This is like there's a certain level of liberation, and I give thanks for that.
Yeah, you just feel more free, right? Just like,
Yeah.
yeah, like this is wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else has been going on with you? Like it's been a long time since we've talked.
Yeah. So I think since we spoke, one of the quote unquote big things, and I kind of hesitate to say this because I feel like I don't want people to have the impression that I have this big value around the institution of marriage. Like I
You
love my husband, but
don't have to qualify. I think
no, I think it's important because
yeah.
there's a way in which like the institution of marriage is prioritized. And I say this as someone who was single for like a lot of my adult life.
Mhm.
And, when people found out that I was getting married, you just get included into this club that is, I found just weird,
Yeah.
right? And so, I love my husband and that's beautiful, but I don't wanna do it at the expense of excluding people, you
Right.
know? And, it's like when you're married, you get certain privileges, right?
Mhm.
That other people don't. So I got married, um, and, really growing in the work that I'm doing and supporting people. I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things that's happened. I had a really beautiful experience where through prayer, through talking, I was released from a job that I was at for 13 years.
Mhm.
And it was toxic for me. Just in case anyone from that organization is listening to this, it's toxic for me. I'm not saying anything against that organization.
Yeah.
And I was able to not work a 9 to 5 job for 7 months. I did a lot of freelance work. I got to work with Black people during that time. And that was a process for me. I'm not saying it wasn't hard. There was times where I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen after a certain amount of money runs out?" But being able to get up in the morning, go to the gym, cook my meals every day was so liberatory. So, I mean, those are the types of things that have changed. I think, when you and I knew each other, I was in service to people in a way that I wasn't in service to myself.
Mhm.
And now I am able to better balance service to myself, which is so necessary.
That's good. And I think a lot of people spend a lot of time giving and not receiving, and also not giving to themselves. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So, and it's such an important thing. You do have to take that time. You do have to go to the backyard for 15 minutes. Everybody should have a backyard, like whether
yeah.
it's a physical backyard, or a
And
backyard.
emotional, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, like that's amazing. With all the thing that's going on, like with Black Lives Matters
Mm,
and COVID,
yeah.
what have you done with Black Lives Matter? Anything that?
So, the actual organization specifically,
Well,
Black
I mean,
Lives
like
Matter, or
I just say Black Lives Matter, but I'm talking
okay,
about Black protests and the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
movement that's going on right now.
Yeah, so a couple of things. So in terms of literal protests, I'm in Durham region, so there was a protest out here that I was present for, not for the whole thing because I had a meeting. I also have, through Global Leadership Village, we've been giving support to different organizations. And in Durham region, there are Black folks who are gathering to how can we support young people during this time that's just started. And the last thing that I wanted to share is around I'm speaking to someone who has an organization, and I don't want to necessarily mention the organization because I haven't talked to them about it, but like how can I provide support to families through my counseling work? So I think that, my work has always been about Black life.
Mhm.
So has something changed? Yes, like there's ways in which people are resisting on a global scale. But I think for many of us, the work has not changed. I really wish I knew about the protest that was happening yesterday. It was so beautiful and so magical down in Toronto. But that's where my work has been. I've always like offered folks a space to kind of release and let go what it means to be Black.
It's like a different time. Like I keep saying, I guess somewhat pessimistic, I guess, or like
Yeah,
just we've seen this before, whether we're alive when it happened or we've heard about it from the 60s, where
yeah,
Black people are like, let's stand up against the system,
yeah,
and nothing has changed. So it's like here we are again, and I mean, like now it's like it's like a global thing, and I think that's thankful to our current technology space, where news can just fly to the other side of the world in a millisecond, right? Like,
yeah,
and it's great that all peoples of whatever color, creed, or whatever they want to class themselves as, are coming together for a common good. And the thing is, it's no longer that people believe that Black people in North America, or specifically in, say, the US, are crying wolf. It's a real thing. This is actually happening, and it's been happening. And it's great that everyone's coming together. I just hope that there is going to be some significant change, not just talk, or not just a bunch of senators kneeling with kente cloths kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That was so terrible. I mean, I think we have been seeing change. We've been seeing like officers who have been fired, laws that have been put into place. Just for me personally, and I didn't.
God, though, right? Is that like, how is that going to continue? That's what I'm concerned about.
And we have to continue. I mean, one of the things that's important, even though races are coming together, like at the forefront is Black and Indigenous people, particularly queer and trans folks, who have been leading this resistance. And I think it's important to say that that has been continual. You know, I saw something change where, I don't know if you happen to see it, and this goes to technology. Because of the quarantine, the council out here in Ajax had their council meeting online on June 15th. And the mayor there was setting up an anti-racism committee that was, from what he said, not just about race, about gender and about LGBTQ folks, which was problematic. How are you going to have a committee on race and center these like inclusive discussion? Some counselors resisted that, asked it to be changed to anti-Black racism, and he was really like had an affront to it, withdrew the motion, and like 2 days later, like I don't know who spoke to him, like said, you know, I was wrong. This needs to be an anti-Black racism task force. And then later on, you know, Friday, you know, opened it up for community to talk to him about it openly. So those are like the very specific changes that our resistance on a quote unquote smaller level that I can look back to. Some of us spoke up. This white mayor said, okay, I was wrong. It's not all lives matter, you know?
Yeah, I remember Billy Porter. Is it Billy Porter?
If you're talking about the fashionista, Billy
The guy.
Porter, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
He
know how
he identifies.
they identify. Yeah.
Yeah. So he posted a video that I found super upsetting.
Okay.
Yeah, like super upsetting. Like I liked him. I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. Like before all this, and then he posted this video that just bothers me. It was just basically, he was like berating Black people, like, you know, like, oh yeah, this Black Lives Matters thing is going on right now, but Black people have never accepted me as. I'm like, no, like there's so much to it. And I wrote this long freaking, I don't know what it is, but I didn't even know where to post it, because the video is just like, people are sharing the video. It's like I wanted to see where I could post. Maybe I'm gonna tweet it to him.
Yeah.
But it was just like him just saying like, Black people don't accept like the LGBTQ. Sorry, I never get those letters right.
LGBTQ plus.
Yeah, thank you. I've never. So I'm like, no, like less progressive people probably don't accept it. But you can't, this is not the time to do that. Like I think I'm accepting, like I try to learn, like I know people like you that are like so progressive and so amazing. I have friends, I've dated women that are like in that community and that they teach me. And it's even before that, I wasn't like biased towards that. I was like, oh, they're just people, who cares? Yeah. But it was just upsetting that he got out there and said all this stuff. And I'm like, no, like I just felt it wasn't the time. Like, I feel, how I feel is that Black people have been fighting for so long for civil rights, and when we get these little micro steps that they break off and allow, say, okay, here, then everybody can benefit from it. So it's not that we're being exclusive to your community, you're a Black man especially. We're being inclusive. Like we're talking about this Black thing right now, but I guess I'm looking at myself like, no, it's like everybody's gonna benefit, but let's all fight together like one voice. Don't get out there and put something like that out there. I don't know, like I can send you the video and then you can take a look at it. I know you don't have context right now, but it was basically him saying Black people don't accept him as a gay man, right? Yeah. And I just felt it wasn't the time.
I feel like, so first of all, I just want to identify that I identify as a cisgendered, straight woman, Black woman, and that homophobia and transphobia is a real thing that Black folks talk about, not feeling included in queer spaces and not feeling included in Black spaces. And some of the fallout is, you know, based on the remarks that you've just shared with me, I haven't heard it directly, is that, you know, there isn't a recognition of how Black people have been leaders in the civil rights movements. And it has to be a conversation about an and, not an or. It's like Black, yeah, when you say things like this is not the time, it's always been the time, because, you know, Black, queer, and trans, non-binary folks have been at the forefront, but not necessarily been.
I just felt that it was like it was dividing the group. We're coming together right now for a cause. I didn't like, and maybe it's just me. I didn't see the separation. Like if I was marching and there was a someone that identified differently next to me, it wouldn't matter. Like we have to.
But there are people who will, right? And we as allies need to like honor that folks like him, them, I don't know, let's just say him, because I don't know if that's the case. Maybe I'm complicating things.
Yeah.
When they say this is my experience, that we have to honor, okay, yeah, I know that there are homophobic and transphobic people in the Black community. And so how can I like work to talk to those people about their transphobia and homophobia and make Billy Porter's experience a part of this Black movement? It's all of these things at the same time. It's Black and straight, Black and able-bodied, Black and disabled, Black and trans. Like it's like all these things together. We can fight these things simultaneously. It doesn't just have to be one thing.
See, I don't, that's probably what it is with me, is that I'm looking at it as like, let's just all get together. We all have a concern, and it's targeted at one system. It's one system that is negative to all of us, whether it's because of your sexuality, because of your creed, color, whatever. But right now, the main thing is like, let's have some unity. And then once we start to make some progress, then we can focus on, let's help. Maybe it's just a naive way to look at it. You know
it's dividing it. But it's also dividing it. I think it's like we have to be like, when we talk about Blackness, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, it's everyone who identifies as Black. And if in an intersectional way, because there's a way, you know, Greg, that, you know, the civil rights movement, it was like Black men would say to Black women, no, you can't talk about your femaleness and your Blackness, just show up for the Black man. And so this is kind of a continuation of that, because my experience as a Black woman is different from yours as a Black man. Just same as, you know, Billy Porter's experience as a Black queer man is different from, you know, so it's that.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, like one voice, that's how I look at it. I would never tell a Black woman, don't show up for a thing or whatever. And maybe back then that was just the mentality of men, right? No?
Yeah.
Are you talking about like in the 60s?
Yeah, or 70s or 80s. I mean, when we were at York together, I mean, I don't remember one of the brothers' names, but I think I was talking about women's rights, and he was like, no, this is not the time. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
right?
no.
So it's like.
But it's always the time, but I'm just saying, like, if we are, like, you're a Black female, I'm a Black male.
Yeah.
You have your fights that you want to fight. I have my fights that I want to fight.
Yeah.
But we have a common fight. You understand? And I'm saying, let's go for the common fight. And
So what is the common fight?
The common fight is Black liberation from the oppressive system.
Okay, so if we know that
those same oppressions are affecting you the same way they affect me,
but they don't. I get affected differently as a Black woman than
I understand that too, because I always point that out. Trust me, I'm never forgetting you guys. Like, you know the hierarchy, and I'm like, you know, Black women are the strongest people that I see, that I know. Like, trust me, but you guys are put down at the lowliest spot, because if you look at the hierarchy of like genderism, we have the white male at the top, then we have his white woman, then we have the Black male, and then the Black sister. But in my thought and how I've always seen things is that hierarchy is wrong, because I know the strongest person on that list is the Black female. For whatever reason, whether it's our origins, where we came from, it was a Black female that birthed all of us into this existence. You understand? and then her resilience, just everything about a Black woman. So the hierarchy that's what is there, but I think it should be flipped if it was a real world, right?
Yeah, and I don't know necessarily that there needs to be hierarchies. I think for me, it's like, how do we make sure that everyone feels wanted, right? And listen, I feel like if we fight for one common cause and then
Yeah.
someone, because of, say, their gender or sexuality, okay, so great, like now we fought for Black rights, but because of patriarchy, who's seen as worthy of access to what it means to have access to the system is now Black men, because patriarchy exists within the power structure of whiteness. Black men benefit from the fight for Blackness, but Black cisgendered women, especially Black trans women, non-binary folks, don't get access to that because they're still seen as other. And that's why we have to have a fight that talks about all these intersections of our identities.
Well, that's problematic. Like, I hear you, but I think like it's messed up, because then when does it end?
We just have to keep fighting.
That's
Right.
like,
We have to. And I want to tell you, I want to tell you, like, if someone said, if the same thing, think about it from a race perspective, right? If a Black person says, I'm not feeling included in this particular space for poverty rights, right? And the white liberal activist is like, no, don't worry about your Blackness right now. We're just fighting so that everyone can get fed. But it's like, I don't know that I'm going to get fed after we fight, right?
yeah, because you're being oppressed on another level anyway. So
This is what I'm trying to say.
So how does it all get
There's
solved?
so many of us. There's
I
so
know.
many. We don't all have to do everything, right? There are people who can focus on, trans rights. There's people who can focus on ableism rights. The whole thing is that, how do we talk about these things, right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like, some of us, we think, oh my gosh, we have all this knowledge and we should be fighting everything. No, pick what you're most passionate about and align yourself and work with folks who are doing the other work.
That's what I'm saying. Doesn't that dilute? Like, wouldn't you rather walk into a war with like 1 million soldiers than have 100,000 soldiers fighting several different wars or 7 different battles?
When you're in a war, and I don't know
if we all attack that one thing at the same time, but I mean, it leads back to what you're saying. I don't know. I don't have the 1,000,000 degrees that you have.
We just talked about my scholarship. I have 1 certificate and 1 degree. Listen, it's really, I want to tell you that I called my teachers in at the beginning of this, right? And there's so many more people who have taught me. And, I'm constantly reading. I have 5 books beside me here that I bought like a month ago that I haven't been able to get to. But it's like, it's how do we listen to things that we are not aware of? It's like, when I talk to people as an ally for non-gender conforming folks, especially as a Black woman, people are like, oh my God, like how do you know that? How do you talk about that? How, like, what words do I use, right? I was privileged enough to work in a gender advocacy center for 2 years and 3 months. Going into that, I wasn't necessarily someone who had the language about how to talk about trans lives and trans resistance. I had to do the work, right? And I was also passionate about it too.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't exist. Like, I love all people. I really do. Like, sometimes when people hear me talk, I'm sure they probably think like Greg is some kind of a racist or something like that. But it's not that. I just hate stupid people and people that hate. That's what I hate, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I generalize, and then for the communities that you've talked about just now and what you are like, and our mutual friend, right? That used to work with the organizations.
We have lots of mutual friends.
Right.
Okay, keep going and maybe I'll pick it up.
Anyways,
Yeah.
she was an executive director for an organization downtown. Anyways,
yeah.
it doesn't matter. I'll send it to you right now. Hang on.
Yeah. And one of the things about, I'll just say this as someone who has.
Did you see your name?
I did. I don't remember that person.
It's
So,
actually, it's the last name repeats twice. I never.
oh, okay. Yeah, I don't remember that person in detail, but you know what it is for me? Because of the healing work. Oh, okay, got it. Because of the healing work that I do, my memory fades on things because
Yeah,
I'm
no,
often asked
it's
to
our
keep a
age,
secret.
Kemba. It's our age.
No,
'Cause
it's
I
not.
have no memory. I barely remember to come on today, dude. Yeah,
No.
no, totally get it.
So what was your question around that? You said you know that person that we have in common.
Oh, the language. That's what I was getting at. Was the different language. Like I'm like I said, I love all people, and all I want to see is just happiness. You know what I'm saying? I want to see everybody's just like, you want to do that thing. It's not hurting anybody. You want to be that thing. Like only God can judge you. That's what I always put it down to baseline. Only God can judge you. So don't worry what it says in that book. You know, some man wrote that book. Don't worry what that dude says. He can't, like, he doesn't affect your life. So I think sometimes people think that, like, oh, here's a black male, he's a certain way. No one has ever gotten me right. Everybody's always thought this is about me and that about me. And sometimes I speak in generalizing, and I know it's bad, but it's just
I th- and I hear you. I think, I want to acknowledge that I come from a pretty privileged place. I was raised by both of my parents. I think we were working class, but with middle class sensibilities. I had a chance to pursue my academic pursuits, and as a result, I have a good handle on the English language. And I wouldn't say that I love all people like you, Greg, so that maybe that's something that I need to work on.
too much. Or maybe I haven't met enough people to, maybe I should look that again. But so far, I'll say
Yeah,
I use that statement. Like
yeah.
I think people are inherently good people.
I agree with that. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree with that. And for that reason, my love for people has to also advocate for the people who don't have a respect for people just because they are human beings. And
Mhm.
that means elevating their voices, that means speaking on their behalf, chanting down all kinds of oppressive language and acts. And also, like, even though I locate myself as a Black woman, that, I have to put my money where my mouth is. If I have access to funds, I need to contribute, not just within my community, but other communities that, need it at that particular time. So that's what I wanted to say about, for me, the love has to go beyond just loving. It has to do with like action.
Right. I mean, like, you definitely need action with like anything you do. I was talking to another guest, and that we actually know. You and I actually know her. She's teaching in Colombia.
Oh man.
Oh,
Keep going.
Kemba. Oh my gosh.
Oh god.
So
Oh, okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Go ahead. Listen, I want to also acknowledge that being at home, one of the problems for me is that being on the internet
yeah,
all the time is affecting my ability to think clearly. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I
It's
need to
just that
detox.
you're not. I think you're just not actively using your brain as powerfully as it is. It's like the information is just coming in, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of like TV in the '80s. It's programming you, right?
it
So you got to
is.
be careful. Yeah.
It is. It is.
So, so what
So
we
now
were
that we're
saying,
now that we're in the same space.
yeah. So what we're saying was about like just action and just doing it. Like, because like I had all these projects and I'm trying to get these people organized, and then COVID happened. So I had to readjust. And now it's like I'm building my project in my living room. Whereas I was thinking like at this time, which is, yeah, like maybe around June or July, a year ago, my thought was this time this year, I'd be in China getting
Wow.
my prototypes built out, right? But
Yes.
now it's like
I
I'm
love
building
when you
it.
talk about your inventing stuff. It's great.
So I'm not doing it in my living room, and it's
Yeah.
just like it's taking action, because it's like at first I'm sitting there like, oh, woe is me, what to do? And it's like you have all these ideas, it's all written down, it's all sketched out. Just do it, build it, go. Just get action, move behind it, because you can talk about it all day, and it's not solidified until you actually have something tactile. So do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
One of the things, that many of us learned is that how much we need community. I know this is something that I realized a couple months ago. I had my mother come to my house. She ended up helping me, but I'm like, Mom, because my husband works evenings. I'm like, Mom, can you just come? I have a couch in my office, and I organized my linen closet. I just needed someone to be present. Got
Yeah.
it done. But without her, that thing had been sitting there unorganized for the longest time.
Which is
So
weird, right?
it's this. It just goes straight to our need for community and for
Yeah.
people to be present and see us,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And give that emotional support.
Yeah. And it's like I'm talking to you right now, and we've talked for we've known for each other forever. When
Yeah.
I'm in Kemba's space, it's magic. It's beautiful. Like if you guys met her, she's like this. I don't know. I just know that her energy and being around her, she's an amazing woman. But like right now, it's like yeah, it's Kemba, but it's not the same as when I'm like with Kemba. And
Exactly.
I think that's what a lot of people are realizing is that although we have all these great things like Zoom and Google Meet and things like that, it's not the same as actually being in a person's space and their aura, their energy field reaches out and touches yours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like it's these things that I think that exist, like these spiritual things and these universal energies that we as humans are connected to, we as humans produce. We don't realize that, dude, like you have to be in the space, you have to touch that person's skin, or you have to be near them, and that energy reaches out. Whether you you can't even conceive it, but it
Yeah.
does something. We're
Yeah.
connected somehow,
Yeah.
and we're never going to be able to do it through electronic means. All right, it's great talking to you, but like
Yeah.
when I'm with you, it's a
Yeah.
different energy. I know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And for people who have been living alone, I've spoken to a couple of people. They're like, it's really, I mean, less so now because some places are in stage 2 and people have figured out to like, okay, we can go for a walk and be 6 feet apart and have our mask on. In the early days, people can't see me rolling my eyes. In the early days, it's like people were struggling. Like 2 weeks in, people are like, I don't know if I can do this.
And like for me, I always say, is like I'm used to this, like
Yeah.
being at home. I can just get up, start working, and then go for a run, go to the gym, and then come back, continue working till like 3 a.m. or something like that. And
Mhm.
it's normal for me. Like I've been doing it for so long. It's just like
Yeah.
normal things. So when COVID happened, it was normal for me. But even I felt sometimes it's like connection, like just want someone in my space, like
Yeah.
another human being. And
Yeah.
the same lady that I was talking to yesterday that
Yeah.
lived in Colombia,
Yeah.
I was telling her, I'm like, isn't it weird that they want us to be separated? It seems so anti-human, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. We covered the
Wide
quarantine,
range.
black, huh?
I said a wide range of topics.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping to get out of this is just like two people talking.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I ask a lot of questions, so then it becomes kind of an interview kind of thing or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like I assume as I move forward, it'll start to become more just a basic like, hey, what's up? And then just talk about whatever. And that's what I want to do. I want to talk about whatever at whatever level of knowledge each person has about it. So
Yeah.
in that will come. But I have a few questions. I was wondering if I could just ask you.
Yeah, definitely.
So I have 5 questions that a pool that I pick from,
Yeah.
and I use out of the 5, I only use 3 questions. So I'm just going to ask you 3 if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So of course, the one that I always ask is if I was walking down the street and I saw Kemba, and what technology would you be carrying? Like, what's your everyday carry as it respects to technology?
Yeah, it would definitely be my I know you're not gonna like this, my
iPhone.
iPhone.
That's
And
like that's everybody.
I wanna tell you something before you go off. My last 3 cell phones have all been hand-me-downs. Like, I have an iPhone 6,
Yeah.
and one of the things I wanna partner with that answer is my earbuds. I don't like putting my cell phone up to my ear. I still have a corded earbuds. I don't use AirPods. I went into the what do they call it? The Apple Store, and I was trying to yes, I don't even know the names, right? And I said to him, I want to exchange my earbuds. And he's like, oh, do you mean your AirPods? I was like, No, I mean my earbuds. Like I pull it out. And he was like, he looked at me like, oh my God. I can't remember the last time I've seen those. Dude, like, right? So that's
Why
what he
don't
was.
why don't you put your phone up to your ear?
I just feel like it's hot,
Oh, okay.
like literally hot on my ear. And that's basically it. So
Is it really hot, or is it like you feel that it's hot? Like, is it something to
I
like?
think it's sensory. I don't think it's literally hot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting because I mean, like when I first got a phone back in 90, I want to say 92 or 91,
It was
somewhere
a
around
brick.
there. Huh?
Was it a brick?
Oh yeah, it was massive. I still
Yeah.
have it. I still have it.
Of course you do.
Yeah, still have it. And I wish I had saved all my phones I've had over the years, but I still
Yeah.
have my very first phone.
Yeah.
And back then it could hold like 9 numbers, just like 9 numbers. And I think you could put the name, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But then when you held that phone up to your ear, it literally got hot and it
Yeah.
sizzled. So you'd
Oh,
hear like,
yeah.
and it was literally hot.
Yeah.
So I was just curious why you thought it was hot, and because I know today's phones don't, the battery heats up sometimes, but they don't necessarily get hot. And I was wondering if it's the thought that you're holding up a device that's sending out cellular waves or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you're thinking that it's hot, or if it actually physically gets hot.
No,
And
I
if
think
it's
it's
older, it's
sensory.
physically. Huh?
I think it's sensory. This whole thing about like the waves that our cell phones give off. I try and not have my phone close to me, but like, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I had to have that conversation with myself. I still wouldn't I know a lot of people put their cell phones in their chest area. I don't do that kind of stuff. I don't know if it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But I have read studies about, people who are gendered as men, if they keep cell phones in their pockets, how that could be problematic for their sperm count. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you never know, right? So it's
Yeah.
better to err on the side of caution, I
Yeah.
think, right?
Yeah.
From the stuff I know, it's just like I know that just walking out on the street, because there's so many antennas and different kinds of
Yes.
technologies that are out there, you're
Yeah.
being bathed in it all the time,
Yeah.
whether your phone is on or not, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, unless you're gonna walk around with sensors to try to whatever. But like still, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's like 10 years from now, they'll say, oh yeah, if you held your phone in your pocket, you can no longer have kids.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
it's
kind of,
a relatively new thing, right?
yeah, it is very
Yeah.
new. So sorry, I kind of cut you off there. So you said your phone and your earbuds.
Earbuds. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically it. I mean, I have the whole suite of Mac products,
Yeah,
from iPad to that kind of things, but I don't usually walk around with my laptop unless I have something to do.
right.
But you'll always find my phone with me.
So no smartwatch?
No.
No.
Yeah. I really don't want to be addicted to these things, and I have the ability to do those things. I mean, I recently started color coding my calendar, but there's a way in which I could really get stuck in that routine and then not pay attention to what's happening. And that's, I want to be able to think for myself either way.
Right.
And I also, there are people who use those things as status, and that hasn't really been my thing. And that's not a judgment thing. It's
Right.
just, my status is about wearing pretty earrings.
Yeah.
No.
Like those earrings that you have on right now, like they're shaped like Africa.
Yeah,
Can you
exactly. With a
see it?
black woman. I can't see.
The
Oh,
other way?
but
Flip
yeah.
over?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. It's like, what is that, a woman on it?
Yeah, my friend Jyoti gifted these to me, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, and the reason why I haven't bought new technology as well is because, I think about the effects on, young Black children in different African countries who are mining to make up those things, right?
Right.
My phone is actually, I need to replace it and I'm just resistant.
Yeah. I need to replace mine too, and I think I'm gonna get another Pixel, but it has been something that I've been thinking about. It's like what other options do I have? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things about my phone that if you sat down with me and I explained them to you,
Yeah.
like stuff that Google is doing, your brain would just explode.
Yeah.
And I see it. Maybe
Yeah.
because I'm just a techie and I pay attention to a lot of the detail.
Yeah.
But it's like, even for me, someone that's just like, I've been online, like I've been using computers and literally online since the 80s, which was a different kind of online, but it was still
Yeah.
online. Like our
Yeah.
computers were talking, and just watching it. And now it's like, it's creepy now. Like it's super creepy. It's like one instance was like, I took a picture and they edited it. Yeah. So I'm like, why would they do that? I'm like, it's a picture that I wanted. And they like, I looked through, I'm like, okay, great. And then I saw they edited instantly.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And
stuff like that, I've been noticing that they do now. And it's
yeah.
just like the intrusion that these phones have, where it's like, you don't really own it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I
Yeah.
carry it and it's like, I look at it. Oh, now this has been moved. I mean, like last year again, this time I was thinking about, like, because a lot of people in Silicon Valley, what they're doing is carrying flip phones now. So during the day they carry the tablets, or sorry, not tablets, but it's the smartphones, and like for business, because they're getting emails and all that stuff. But then when they like after 6 o'clock or whatever, after the 9 to 5 is done, they put that, or on the weekends they put that phone down and they take out their flip phones that you can just receive text messages and you can receive phone calls.
Wow.
So they're
So
just
folks in Silicon Valley are doing that.
yeah, they're reducing the bandwidth
Right?
basically, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
I mean, that's the kind of stuff I was alluded to where I don't have a watch. You know, if it was up to me right now, no, it is up to me. Like, I really want to reduce like the apps that I have on my phone. You know, it's like, I would love to go back to more quote unquote natural way of living. But that,
yeah,
that's, I get into a car and I drive.
yeah,
But, as much as I can, I try and reduce my carbon footprint too.
yeah. There's no really turning back. I've had clients that I consulted with on like the fact that they want to they want to go black, basically. They want to remove their presence offline. And every time I tell them, it's like really, really hard. It's going to take a
And
very long
expensive.
time. And expensive, but
Yeah.
that's okay with me. But yeah, a lot of people do want that service, and like, but it's really hard. Like, it's not something
Yeah.
I run out and say, hey, I do this for you, because it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, tech is I could talk about it forever.
I know. This is probably the shortest tech conversation we've had.
I think people glaze over when I start talking about tech sometimes.
No, I love it. I love it.
So another question. So that was number one. Then
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe let's do this one. Tell me something that they're gonna totally pull you out of context.
Wow. This is an interesting question as someone who is Black. I think there's ways in which Black and middle class.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so many ways in which I have learned to kind of qualify how I speak.
Yeah, and you can hear that when I speak to you. Like, even when we're like chilling and hanging out,
Yeah.
you talk like, I have a lot of friends like you, but you guys just watch exactly what you say. Sometimes I
Yeah.
just blurt shit out, but it's like, it's so amazing with you guys, and I'm like just waiting for it because I know exactly, because you qualified everything. You're like, I'm a cisgender, da da da, and
Yeah.
I don't know how he identifies. It's like,
No,
like,
but I mean,
no, it's because you're in the space, and it's not offensive to me at all. And I
yeah.
totally get that some people want to identify, so it's cool. It's just funny, like it's really
Yeah, but then that's a learned thing, right? So I
yeah.
want to like acknowledge, like, not specifically about how I talk about, gender and but like how, like, to show up in the world so that I don't get in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what would I necessarily, so one of the things, I think, not necessarily actually saying something, but posting something like really reactionary and really like what some people might consider to be racist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think people meet me, and because I, speak in those qualified, tones and don't speak as much, they may not know how like blackety black I am,
Right.
So I think that would be the thing. So I have two different Facebook accounts. So one is the public one, feel good.
Right.
I think there are people who go to my, non-public one, they'd be like,
What?
what?
Yeah. All my stuff is private, man. I log it all down.
Yeah, and even within that, I'm like, you know what, folks like you, I'm like, someone could actually get into this. So
Yeah,
even when I do post things, I'm like, could I defend this if I had to?
yeah.
You
I
know?
kind of don't care.
Yeah. And I hope to get to a place where I'm working for myself and I don't care either,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, like
A-
they're gonna dig it up anyways. You know what I mean? Like if in like I don't know something's like in 10 years if somehow I'm running for president, they're gonna find it.
yeah,
So
exactly. When you're part of
I
public
keep it
office,
private. I keep it
yeah.
private because I just don't want to like it's just me and my friends, and then I
And
don't want
people
like
snitch too,
yeah, right.
right?
So it's like I really don't
Yeah,
care. It's like if you know me, then
yeah,
you know that okay, Greg said that shit, but he's not a racist or anything like that, or he's not like he doesn't hate these kind of you know what I'm saying? He's
yeah.
just saying that stuff and he likes all people, or he's just like it's not well, I guess I don't yeah. Like if you know me, then you know me. So if you use something from my Facebook that you were able to get through someone that's on my Facebook or whatever,
Yeah.
then take it out of context because I know who I am.
Yeah, and I think, to more specifically answer your question, like maybe 22 or 23 years ago, I worked with someone who identified as queer. And, some years after that, she said that I had said something homophobic to her.
Oh wow.
I don't remember, to
Yeah.
be very honest with
But
you.
that's on her because, like, for me, if you say some shit to me
Yeah,
and I find it offensive, I'm gonna let you know right away, right? So it's like
uh,
we can't you can't really like so censor yourself. It's like you try, and
yeah,
people, in my opinion, other people should say, that person's trying. They're not at
yeah,
100%, but
yeah.
they're trying. So
But
that's
I
why.
didn't I didn't realize or remember that I'd said that in the time,
Mhm.
right? And that would be, I think, the thing that someone could dig up and say, "Oh, you've done all this work, blah 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 blah,
Yeah,
but 23 years ago you made this off the cuff comment
right.
to someone you consider to be a friend." And I apologized to her even though I didn't remember. Like I took responsibility for it because I also know that there's ways in which I was raised in a society that is homophobic and transphobic, even sexist and racist, so that I may internalize that shit and
Mhm.
say something,
Yeah,
especially from a class perspective. What's the hip hop song? I'm not talking about the queens, but it's like even
yeah,
the ways in which we talk about each other. Like, anyway, so that would be the thing. I think that would be the thing.
cool. Yeah, I just say shit. I don't give a fuck. Come and get me. Those are all really good answers. I'm going to ask you just some advice you could give entrepreneurs or young women or just women or just some advice that you would like give out to someone.
I think one of the things that I would definitely stress for young people, especially young women, is get in touch with your spirituality.
Hmm.
Have a place to ground and connected to that. Spend time with elders, especially if you have blood elders. One of the things that I grieve, not actively every day, but like my parents came here from Trinidad and I didn't have a relationship. I had a telephone relationship with my grandparents. And so, having the chance to have relationships with elders, whether they are your blood or your chosen, is such a valuable tool for you to have in your toolkit. So that would be my thing. And with that comes the spirituality and the teachings. One of the laughs I have with my mom is that she's a Christian, but every New Year's Eve cooks black eyed peas. That
Yeah.
you have to have black eyed peas to go into the new year. And
Mm.
I said to her, I'm like, Mom, this is this is probably some like West African traditional practice. This is some, it's like, but like having the relationships to know what our traditional spiritual practices are and our
Yeah.
cultural things are is so important for. I'm going to count myself as a young person because there are people who are elders to me. I have to keep that relationship up so I remember where I'm from. And, we're not connected to our original lands. And that affects how we move in the world and our original languages and our culture. I was listening to an indigenous elder, indigenous to Turtle Island, talking about that, having that relationship to the land, to the the language, and then to the culture and how that informs the heart. I really wish I could remember her name right now. Her first name is Alexis. I'll try and get that for you because it's, I don't want to also misquote her. And that's something that Black people, a lot of us don't have, right? We don't have this relationship to the land and our language, and it affects our culture. And that's why we see so much division within Black communities, right? So yeah, anyways, that would be my one offering. Get to know your spirituality, however you define it, right?
Right. I don't know if you mentioned, are you Christian or are you like more spiritual?
I am definitely more spiritual. I go to church when there are weddings and there are baby christenings. I have a lot of godchildren, and
Yeah.
I pray that I win the lottery so that I can bless them before I go to another plane. But I definitely am open to all religious practice that is inclusive of getting free and knowing the self.
I don't speak religion. Well, with my friends I do, but right now on this, I really don't get into the
Yeah.
movie because I think it would be misunderstood if you and I just started talking right now without it like laying down a long bit of content.
Qualifiers.
Yeah, qualifiers. Yeah.
I
So
want to
yeah,
say for me, there's a difference between religion, which is organized, and
yeah.
spirituality, which is just like belief that there's spirit in everything that we touch.
Oh, for sure. And
Yeah.
that's what I am.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more spiritual person. I don't know if I'm like as practiced as most people are, but
Yeah.
that's what I believe in. I don't believe in religions at all. Like yeah. So I'm
Yes. Yeah.
spiritual. And so it's beautiful what you said about us getting back to that level, because I think a lot of people have been bamboozled and don't realize you are a spiritual being, not a
Yeah.
religious person, right? So it's two different things: spiritual being as opposed to a religious person. And in finding your spirituality and finding your people and finding their voice and listening to their energy that is still out there,
Yeah.
you will be so grounded and you will understand exactly where you stand in this universe and exactly how important you are in this
Yeah.
universe. And I think if we could all understand that and all speak to our elders and all listen to those stories and just carry that in us and then carry them on in our children, it'd be beautiful, right? But I think a lot of people are missing that. Like, I lost my mom a long time ago, and of course I miss my mom, but the way I look at stuff is that the body's gone, but the spirit is still with me. Like, what I wish I had, because you always think, oh, my mom's right there, she's always going to be there. That's how you take it
Yeah.
for granted. But I miss the stories. I just want to know
Yeah.
more. I never took that time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I realized that, it's like, yeah, I wish I could hear her stories, because
Yeah.
as humans, stories is what makes it. Like, everything we do, it's a story. Everything that we love is a story. Like, we
Yeah.
love stories and we revolve around stories.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost that, because there used to be a time when we had the elder and we sat around the elder and he or she told the stories of the people, and that allows people to live on. Like, why do people want to get famous? So people remember them, so they live on.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, spirituality is very important, and I hope a lot of people that are listening right now, I hope you guys go to your grandparents, go to your great grandparents, go to your moms and dads, and listen to the stories. Ask about the stories, because they have so much energy to pour into you. And that energy will help you grow and grow your own people, whether you're Black people, white people, or other.
Yeah, and even your chosen elders, one of
Yeah.
my mentors, I mentioned her, Ainani Ayodele, that she's someone because, we have belief systems that are aligned that I can go to and just, sit at her feet,
Right.
And I also want to say that, as young people, that if you are going to elders, like, you have to also be in service to them too, right? Like,
Mhm.
that's one thing that we have to remember, that we can't dash away our elders. We
Yeah.
have to support them too.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to talk. They want to tell their story, right? Yeah. So yeah. But Kemba, like, this was a great conversation. It's always amazing and always wonderful to see you.
Yeah.
More so in person,
Yeah,
because that energy.
yeah, it will
But
happen.
it's still amazing. Your smile lights up the entire room. I'm happy to have you on, and I definitely need to have you on again
I
as we
look
go
forward to
forward.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming out, and that's it. Do you have anything else you want to? Oh, you know what? Give me some plugs. Anything that you want to plug, like locations where people can find you and
Uh,
your services?
yeah, I mean, my personal social medias are pretty locked down, but
Yeah.
definitely check out globalleadershipvillage.com. Doing some important work there, and the social medias for that organization is there too. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll definitely set something up to have you back on in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. You're
I'll
welcome.
talk to you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening and supporting Toasted Soul. Visit us at toastedsoul.com to leave comments or book guest appearances and to get news on Toasted Soul. Please join us again next week. And as always, live with soul.